Hi guys, my name is Bethany and this is a Faye in the Life. Today I'm going to be doing some meal prep and ingredient prep of my latest Costco and Publix haul. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to make is homemade guacamole. I'm planning on making taco bowls for myself for lunch this week. I also make like quesadillas or tacos for dinner, so I love having homemade guacamole on hand just to add to my meals. So the first thing I want to show you is I got this awesome guacamole keeper. I got it on Amazon and I'll link it down below. But this thing keeps guacamole fresh for so long in the fridge. And it helps it keep from getting brown because it has these like suction rings that it seals it airtight. So I love using this for my guacamole. So this has been such a lifesaver just to keep it fresh. So that's what I'm going to be using to make it in today. First thing you want to do, something that I get asked a lot, is how do you know when avocados are ripe? So they'll usually be a darker color like this. They'll be a little bit squishy, but not like mushy. Like you're not gonna stick your finger through it. And then also, I've already popped the top out of these, but if you're at the store, there's like a little stem here. If you pop that out and it's green inside, then you know that they're fresh, they're ready to go. So this one obviously is a little lighter now because I got these yesterday, but when I picked them out at the store, popped the seed out, it was a nice bright green color. They have a little give when you push on the skin, but not too much, so I know that these are ready to go. What I like to do is I just cut them in half. I go all the way around, and there is a seed in the middle, so you'll feel that in there. This one just popped right apart, but usually you have to kind of twist a little bit. Oh, and the seed came right out too. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just take my knife, go in there, you twist it, and it pops right out. So I'm just gonna open all of these up. And like I said, look, perfect inside. What I like to do now is I'll take them like this and I'll kind of just score them. You don't want to go all the way through the skin and cut your hand open, so be careful of that. But I just kind of cube them in the skin. And it doesn't have to be perfect or beautiful. Then once you have them cubed like that, you're gonna grab your bowl or whatever container you're using, and then you're just gonna take a big spoon and you just kind of go in there, push against the skin, and everything will pop out. Beautiful. Sometimes there's a little bit left in there, just scrape that out too. And you're good. Now this one has like a brown spot in there. It looks like it's just a bruise, maybe when it got hit in the bag. So it's usually fine. If you're not comfortable eating that, then just pull it out. I'm not too worried. I've eaten it tons of time. I've been fine. So if you like a smoother guacamole, you're gonna go ahead and just take a fork and mash this right now. But I don't mind a chunkier guacamole, so I'm gonna just leave it like this and then add everything else in. And then as I mix it, it will kind of soften the chunks. But like I said, I don't mind a chunkier guacamole. If you would like it smoother, then go ahead and just mash it now before you add everything else in. I like to put tomato in my guacamole. Some people don't, and that's okay. I like to just chop off the ends. And I love tomatoes, so I don't want to waste any of it, so I'll just cut around the stem part. This is entirely up to you. With pretty much anything that goes into my guacamole, I like to use red onion, lime juice, and tomatoes. Some people don't like tomatoes in their guacamole, so you can always leave those out. Also, some people like to put jalapenos in there, or any other type of peppers that you might want. Some people add corn. You really can just kind of do whatever you want. And then next we're gonna do our red onion. You can use white onion too, or like sweet yellow onions, that's fine. I like to use the red one because it gives it a stronger flavor. But again, it's up to you. If you don't like onion, leave it out, it doesn't matter. But I just love the color that it gives to the guacamole, as well as, like I said, the flavor. I like to chop this pretty fine just because I don't want to bite into a huge chunk of onion in there, but I like the flavor it gives. And this looks like a pretty good amount, so I'm gonna just use this and throw it in. I'll save the other half of the onion for something else. So that's what we're looking at now. But we got our avocado, our tomato, and our onion in there. I think that one was enough onion, so I'm gonna just chop this one up and then store it in a baggie in the fridge. So if I want to add it to my taco bowl or anything like that, I have it already ready to go. One thing that's really important for me with following Weight Watchers is having things prepped ahead of time. Of course, it's so much healthier to eat at home with foods that you prepare yourself. So we want to have meals that are easy to pull together. One thing that's really helpful is not just prepping full meals, but is also prepping ingredients. So instead of having to chop up an onion, if I want to add onion onto a salad or my lunch, I already have it packed up, it's ready to go. I can just grab what I need and it stays in the fridge for a while. And success, I didn't start crying everywhere with the onion. The other thing that I'm going to put in here is a fresh lime. If you roll it ahead of time, kind of really like push on it, you'll feel it kind of start to give. That gets all those juices flowing in there so that you can squeeze it a lot easier. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and just chop that in half. I like the flavor, so I'm gonna put the whole thing. Using lime in your guacamole also helps it keep from turning brown. So if you don't have one of these cool containers, when you put your guacamole into any airtight container, just sprinkle some lime juice on top and then it should help it keep from going brown. Now you can always just do salt and pepper. I like to add in fajita or taco seasoning. It doesn't matter what brand, anything you like. And I'll just sprinkle some of that in there. It just gives it that extra flavor without the spice, like of adding jalapenos. So I have that all in there and then I like to just mix it up. As you can see, it does kind of mush up a little bit, but you do still have those big chunks in there. It smells so good. I would eat this whole thing like right now. So I'm just gonna clean up the edges here. Like such. And then with this container, you're going to just place your top on there and you're going to just push this down. You kind of rock it and you'll hear the air coming out. But what it does is it gets rid of all those air bubbles. You literally cannot push it any further once you know it's in place. So you'll see it makes a really tight seal all around the edge and it keeps all the air out, so it keeps it fresh. So this is great. It's been such a lifesaver. It looks so good. I can't wait to have some. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut up these peppers. I like to go ahead and chop them up because I like to use them in fajitas or tacos, and I like to use them when we're roasting veggies. I add them in with onions and like Brussels sprouts or zucchini, whichever vegetable we're having. It just adds a little extra layer of flavor to the roasted veggies and I love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop these up and I'll throw them in a Ziploc bag. I'm going to freeze these because I do have some already in there. I just wanted to make sure I didn't run out. So these are gonna go into a freezer bag and we'll throw those in the freezer for later in the week. I got this bag at Costco, but they also have them at my local grocery store, which is Publix. I like to get the one at Costco because it's just a little more cost effective. It doesn't really matter if the seeds are in there or not because these aren't spicy at all. They're sweet peppers. So I just personally don't really like to have a ton of seeds in there, so I do try to keep those aside. One thing I like too is I don't really like green peppers. So having the sweet peppers, you usually get yellows, oranges, and reds. I do tend to try to find one that has a lot of orange in it. Those are my favorite. But I love the orange ones, I love the yellow ones, and even the red ones in here aren't too bad since they are sweet. But a lot of times with like pre-made frozen bags of peppers, you'll get almost all red or green. I like being able to choose a bag that has the ones that I like. I've thought about just throwing the seeds out in our yard to see if they would grow, but I know sometimes with peppers that because of how they're grown, they have to be bred, so they aren't able to grow like if you just throw them out in your yard. So also, we live in a more rural area, not like out in the country, but there's a lot of wildlife around. We live near a conservation area, so I know that even if we did grow something, it would probably get eaten by all sorts of things. We have deer. We do have a fence now though, so I don't think we'd have to worry about the deer. But raccoons, rabbits, snakes. I just don't think that unless I had like a greenhouse type situation or really reinforce the garden area, that it would get eaten by something other than us. Also, gardening takes a lot of time, which as a mom and working full-time and my husband now working full-time, we just don't have time for that. I used to joke with him, my husband hates birds. I used to joke with him that we were gonna get chickens. And our neighbor, when we first moved back down to this area, we were living with my parents until we built our house. And our neighbor had chickens and a rooster. It would come over into my parents' yard, but he hates birds. Like, he's just not a fan. And he was chased by a duck when he was little, so he has been traumatized by all sorts of birds. So he had gone somewhere and run an errand, and he called me at my mom's house, and he's like, I can't get out of the car, the chicken is here to attack me. So I had to go outside and like shoo the chicken away, because chickens I'm not scared of. Roosters, those things can be so mean sometimes. My aunt had one when I was growing up, and it would chase you through the yard and try to attack you. So I'm totally on board with not being a fan of roosters. So I went out there and shooed the chicken away so he could get out of the car. But poor thing, he was so like scared. He was like, I can't get out of the car. But I went and saved him. So I kept joking with him that we eat so many eggs, we should get chickens. And he's like, it wouldn't justify the cost of upkeep of the chickens and feeding them for how many eggs we would get, because in our area you're only allowed to have up to 4. And he's like, it wouldn't make sense for us to do it, and besides birds. So needless to say, we're not getting chickens anytime soon. And he's probably gonna kill me for sharing his story of him being scared of the chicken. But you know, he is not quiet about his dislike for birds. So I'm sure it's fine. In his words, he would be like, hi YouTube. I got this 2-pound bag of Brussels sprouts at Costco, and usually I get a 1-pound bag at Publix, but we have been really enjoying them lately, so I went ahead and got the 2-pound bag so I could chop those up. I do put them in the freezer until I'm ready to use them, and like I said, they cook up just fine from the freezer. Like, I don't even have to thaw them first. And this is the veggie wash I use. So I have these ready. They're gonna just go in the freezer, and I'll pull them out when I need them. I usually roast these up either in a pan or in the oven with onions and the sweet peppers, like I had said before. But they turn out really great. I just cook them straight from frozen, and it's quick and easy. So the next thing I'm gonna do is cut up this bag of zucchini and yellow squash. I went ahead and got a 3.5-pound bag of zucchini and yellow squash at Costco. They looked really good, and the ones at Publix haven't looked so good lately, so I went ahead and just grabbed it at Costco. So I'm gonna wash these up and then cut them. So same deal here, I wash these and I'm just gonna dry them off because I chop them up and I do throw them in the freezer bags and store them in the freezer. I kind of portion them into like serving size and keep them in the quart freezer bags, and then that way they're really quick and easy. I already know it's pre-portioned for dinners, for sides, or anything like that. But I just cut off the ends and then I cut them in half. Then I just cut them like such into little quarters, and then I will kind of mix the greens and yellow and put them into freezer bags, and like I said, just freeze those so I have them ready for dinners during the week. I know that I haven't done a video like this before where, I know I've done like meal prep and stuff, but I haven't done a video where I kind of just talked with you guys. And my mind is so blown that for the most part, you guys are complete strangers to me. Like, I don't know you in real life. And I think that's so incredible that YouTube is just this community where we can find others who share our interests. And I feel like now that I actually have an audience that doesn't know everything about me already, you know, like my friends and family and stuff, I feel like I need to start doing more like this, where you can get to know me, and instead of just watching some girl cook on the internet or share stories about weight loss, that you guys get to know me. So if you like this kind of video, let me know in the comments down below. Or if there's any questions you want to ask me, anything you want to know about me. I'm generally a pretty shy person. You take a little bit of time to get to know me in real life. But I don't know, I feel like YouTube has kind of been a good conduit to help me kind of open up. I've definitely been more open on my social media about my weight loss journey, and I've been able to help some people, and I think that's really great. And I know that I get a lot of inspiration and motivation from others in the weight loss community or the Weight Watchers community even. And I just love that I'm able to contribute as well. Is there anything you'd like to see on my channel? Is there any questions you have for me? So next up, I'm going to wash and dry all of the hearts of romaine that came in that giant bag I showed you, and I'm gonna let those dry. All right, so my romaine lettuce is mostly dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and chop that up, and then I'm just gonna store it in a container with a lid that I can keep in the fridge. I'll grab it out to make a salad or put in a taco bowl during the week for lunches. My favorite dressing is the Bolt House Farms ranch dressing. I love that. It's 2 points. I'm going to clean all of these grapes and get them off the vine. I wash and dry them, and then I put them in a gallon size Ziploc bag, and I just leave them in the fridge so we can grab them as we need them for a snack. Another thing that I like to prep ahead is onions. I hate cutting onions. So I will chop the ends off, I cut them in half, I peel them, and then I will dice them up. I will store them in a Tupperware or a gallon freezer bag. I'll either keep them in the fridge, or I actually put them in the freezer and just cook them straight from frozen sometimes. So it just helps if I'm not going to be using them all up right away, or if I have some left over from the prior weeks that I purchased them. That way it keeps them from going bad and wasting the money that way. I used to have this neat little gadget where you would put the half of an onion in it, and then you put the metal grate over it, and it would dice them for you. But it ended up not working out really well because the blades got bent, and then it was getting stuck in there, and it was just a mess. So I ended up starting just chopping them up myself. And even though it's a little bit easier to use the tool, it got to where it wasn't easier because the blades were messed up. So I find that just doing it all this way, since it's not a chore that I enjoy, is just easier to just do it all, get it over with, and then move on. We normally pick up a 3-pack. It's 3 pounds of lean ground beef at Sam's Club, but I didn't want to run in just for that. So when we were at Publix, they actually had the 93% lean ground beef on sale. So I went ahead and just picked up a 3-pound pack there. It ended up being about the same price as Sam's with their sale. So I am just going to break this up. I weigh it out into 1-pound portions, and then I put them in a gallon freezer bag. I'll flatten them out so that it stores really neatly in the freezer, and then that way I can just pull it out the night before when I'm ready to use it for a recipe. Of course, lean ground beef is points, but I really prefer the flavor of beef in dishes like pasta dishes or in our chili that we make for lunches. So I really like to just splurge on the points to get lean ground beef instead. Of course, you can always use 99% lean ground turkey or ground chicken for 0 points, but sometimes you just really need a beef burger, not a chicken burger. So that's always a great option. Another thing I picked up for meat at Costco was this 6-pack of chicken thighs. They have boneless, skinless thighs, and they also have boneless, skinless chicken breast. But we lately have just not been interested in chicken breast. Sometimes it can be kind of dry when you cook it. It's very bland, and for the amount of points, it's kind of like the ground beef. It's fine for us to splurge a little on a little bit extra points for the chicken thighs, and it ends up tasting better in some of the dishes we do. So in order to save the money, I just get the ones with the bones in and the skin on, and then I just debone them and take the skin off myself. I'll weigh those out to as close to a pound as I can get, and then I'll just bag those up in a freezer bag and then just store them in the freezer so I can pull them out the night before when I'm going to use them in a recipe the next day. And since I am actually going to be making a chicken recipe this week that I need pulled chicken for, or shredded chicken for, I am just going to put in a pound into the Instant Pot. I'm going to add in some chicken stock, salt and pepper, onion and garlic powder, some Italian seasoning, and some minced garlic, and then I'm just gonna cook that on high pressure on 14 minutes. Make sure that your Instant Pot is sealed, and then when that's all done, you can just take it out, shred it up, and use it in whatever recipe you're making. I also get these pans. You can get them at Costco. These I had actually picked up at Sam's Club, but they're really good for when we make casseroles or like pasta bakes or anything like that. So I can just make it in here. I can store it in the fridge or freezer, and then when we're ready to cook it, we can just throw it in the oven. And then when you have leftovers, I just put the tinfoil back on it. I don't have to dirty a baking dish. I don't have to cook it in something and transfer it to something else. Like, we just keep the leftovers in here and then take it out, portion it out, and reheat it when we're doing leftovers. So the Instant Pot is all done, so I am just going to put a towel over it and then release the vent. So it's actually a tip my dad taught me, to put the towel over it because it keeps it from getting the steam all over everything. So that's actually been really helpful to kind of keep things clean. While that's releasing, I had a pot of water coming to a boil, so I'm just going to add in our bow ties for the chicken pesto bow tie bake that I'm making, that I'm meal prepping. So I am just going to add those into the pot and let those cook up. Once they're done, I will go ahead and just drain those into the strainer, and then I just let them sit there while I finish everything else up. Once the pressure has released, I went ahead and pulled out the chicken thighs onto a plate, and then I have these neat little claws that I got on Amazon, and you can also use a fork, but I'm just going to use these to shred the chicken thighs up, and then that way it is all ready to go. I'm going to put the drained pasta back in the pot, as well as the shredded chicken. I'm going to add in my seasonings and my pesto, as well as the 98% fat-free cream of chicken soup from Campbell's, and then add a little bit of fat-free or reduced fat mozzarella cheese and just mix that all together until it's well incorporated. Then I'll just put it into that aluminum pan like I showed you before, and then I'll top with the rest of the shredded mozzarella cheese and then cover it with foil, and that is ready to go into the freezer. I picked up this Hello Kitty pasta at Home Goods. Kennedy loves Hello Kitty, so I thought that would be fun to use in a recipe. So I'm going to use it in my cheeseburger casserole. So I just have my pot of water coming to a boil, and then went ahead and added those in so that they can cook. And then in a separate pan, I have this big, like 3-quart saucepan. I just went ahead and added some Pam and then onions and pepper, salt and pepper, and then I have this Weber gourmet burger seasoning. I picked it up at Sam's Club, and I love it in this recipe as well as when I make burgers. So it's really good. It has a little bit of a kick to it, but not too bad because Kennedy can still eat it. But it's just a nice flavor for this and any burger type recipes that you may make. So if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. And just mixed all of that together, and then I cooked those up. Once they just started to get tender, I went ahead and added in a pound of ground beef. And then, like I said, you can also use ground chicken or turkey if you want to have lower points for your meals, but we don't mind the little bit extra points. So I'm just gonna chop that up while I'm stirring and then just cook it until it's done. Once the pasta's done, just go ahead and drain that and set it aside. And then once your hamburger mixture is done, you're gonna add in some Velveeta cheese. I use about 8 ounces of the low fat, or I think it's 2% milk Velveeta cheese. I just cut that up into cubes and add that in, and then I add in the pasta and just mix everything together. I'll also add in some reduced fat or fat-free shredded cheddar cheese as well, just to give it a little extra cheesiness. And then I'll save a little bit so that I can put it on the top once everything's all mixed together. One thing I love about this pan is it's big enough to make a meal in, and then also it can go into the oven. So a lot of times if I'm just making this for dinner instead of making it ahead of time, I'll just add some shredded cheese on top, put this pan in the oven, bake it until that cheese is melty, and then I can just pull it out and serve it right out of this pan. But since I'm meal prepping these for the week, I went ahead and just split it out into 2 of those aluminum containers and then topped with the shredded cheese and covered with tin foil. And so now I have meals pretty much for the next week and a half. I was going to cut up the potatoes as well, but I am tired. So I decided I'm just gonna leave them whole. I'll just stick them in the pantry, and then as we're cooking meals, then I can just pull them out at that point and cook them up. That was so much work, but I know that taking one day on the weekend to just get set up for the week always makes our weeks run more smoothly. I hope that you enjoyed this video and maybe got some tips and ideas for meal prep you could do for yourself. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment down below and let me know if you liked this video. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel for new videos every week. As always, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye!